Hi, all. Hi.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. So let me quickly share my screen. Just confirm me once you can able to see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible, right? Yeah. So today the demo was on the pandas. Like I'll give the little brief introduction about the pandas. So why pandas and like how it can be useful for the data manipulation and the data handling. So into the Python. Uh, let's say like you have the libraries which are relevant to the data analytics, like those are the one of the most useful libraries, the pandas, and the numpy. So numpy for the computational purpose, and this pandas for especially for the data manipulation, so handling the empty cells and the wrong format of data. So if you have some data discrepancy, you can handle with this pandas. And as well as you can remove the duplicates and you can fill the null values with some average techniques. So different techniques we can use. So while cleaning the data, so we can also create the data frames. Like these are the main key features about the pandas. So let me go through this each point. So fast efficient data frame object with a default customized indexing. So means like when you load the data to the pandas, so using this pandas command, so it can loads the data into the in memories. Okay, so that like the data frame retrieval of data is very fast. So as compared to the on-premise environment. So and coming to the second point, so tools for loading the data into the memory data objects, so into the different file formats, like you can able to import the data of different file formats, like text file you can import and you can read the data from JSON object you can read, and the Excel, CSV, XLSX, whatnot, Parquet. So like any format, like the so set of file formats you can read from the pandas. So once you can read the data, you can able to manipulate it. So data alignment and the integrated handling the missing data. So if you have some any discrepancy or any null values inside the data, so any unwanted columns you have, so you can remove and you can manipulate those columns using this pandas. So in the coming to the fourth point, like reshaping and the pivoting of data sets. So if you have some data like so here basically we have the one-dimensional data sets and the two-dimensional and three-dimensional sets. So you can manipulate the rows to the columns and then columns to the rows, vice versa. You can able to do some manipulations under the column side and the row side. So label based slicing, indexing, and the subsetting of target data sets. So you can manipulate the columns, like you can give the required column names. So once you manipulate the data, so in the final data sets, whatever the renaming you required, you can able to slice means suppose you have the 2000 rows in your source data set, so you can able to comprise that data to the some reduce it to the 200 rows or the required rows. That can be called as a slicing. So subsetting of data we can basically say. So we can also perform the group by data aggregation on top of the data. So in the columns from the data structures can be deleted or inserted. So basically this can useful to manipulate the data type. Suppose if you have a string, you need to manipulate it as an integer to float also. So that's how we can manipulate the data types as well. So we can also joining the data sets, data frames we can able to join. So we can also perform some time series analysis. So these are the main core features of the pandas. So if we can go to the normal, let me go to some answer. So the first requirement is, so if you want to access the library, that pandas library, you need to install this command, run this command through your CMD or any Jupyter interface or any other platforms, like where you can access the Python. So if you can see. I mean, do you guys have already this Jupyter interface with you?
No, others.
No? Okay.
No,
I'll guide you like how you can install this Jupyter. from Anaconda. No worries. First, let's see like what is data frames, and I'll give the little intro about the pandas. So this is how the all the requirements are satisfied. So this pandas library requirements were stored into this particular locations in the C drive location, because I have Anaconda 3 was installed. So inside the Anaconda, there is a library folder and then site packages. Like when you install something using this pip, so it will like all the logs and all the requirement files can be stored into the site packages. Okay. So now you can able to import this pandas. Import pandas. So I'm just giving the alias as PD, or you can, whatever you want, you can just give it. Okay. So guys, you know this Python data types, correct? If I'm not wrong. If not, I'll do I need to
Yes.
explain the basic Python as well.
Yeah. But I know that, but I don't know about the another person.
List, like the list dictionaries and tuples,
Nothing regarding Python. Others.
nothing regarding. Okay. Then I need to tell about this little basic Python as well. So, but as of now, you can see I'm just concentrating about this data frames only. So once we started, like I'll explain the Python data types and file handling system, like whatever the basic required Python is. Python to analyze pandas or analysis the data, I'll cover those things as well. Okay, no worries. So once you can install the data, so you can create the data frame like PDs are library, okay, pandas. So I'm just giving the alias name to the PD as the alias to the pandas data frame library. So then from here you can create the data frame. Okay, this is how we can create the data frame. So when you execute it, so when you create some, this is the empty data frame I have created. Okay. So when you create the empty data frame, so it can have the columns and the index and the columns would be automatically assigned to the data frame. So once it can be created, you can able to insert the data. So suppose I'll tell you the data types of Python lists, dictionaries, so tuples. So these are the like core core, what I can say, core data types of Python. So using these data structures, we can able to manipulate our data. So I'm just creating the data frame with the list. You can see data, just creating the taking some sample data, 1 2 some 3 4 5 numbers. From there I'm just creating the data frame. Okay. So same like pd dot data frame. So I'm just passing this data to this data frame. So if you can see, so the index can be taken automatically. So by default, like the index can be taken. So if you want to use our custom index, you can also mention our custom index as well. Suppose, so if I'm not providing any index equals to something, so it will directly takes the 0 1 2 3 4 as to your first column or first row. Okay. So this is the one-dimensional data frames, you can say. So let me create the two-dimensional data frames. So suppose let's say take data. So if you know the these data structures, that this is the easy actually. So but I don't know, like you guys already know about this basic Python. No worries, I'll explain those things. So suppose any names. Next. 11. Sympathetic. Okay, this is the multi-dimensional array, you can see, because we are using the multiple list inside the list. Suppose this is a list basically, so list can holds the, so what before that I need to explain the list basically. So explain this data type. So list is a like a collection of different data types, like I mean, so it can stores the different types of data types, like suppose let's say if you want to create some list, it can be a multiple, it can holds the multiple data types, like one is an integer, correct? So this is the string, and so then this is the float value. Okay, so it can holds the every value, like different multiple data types it can hold. See, so we can also append the some elements to the list. Suppose this is the list, right? So list dot append, I'm just adding some 45 any value. Okay, sorry. So I have updated the list, correct? Now you can see. So this value can be updated. So you can also remove the data as well. So this is the basic of the list. So I'm just removing this 45 from the list. See. So this is how you can manipulate the data. So inside the list, okay, list is a kind of a data object, like it's a data type, like core data types. So in basically while we manipulate the data, we are using the most probably we are using this lists only. So it can holds the it's a collection of data types. It can shows the collection of data types, and as well as we can able to append the data, and we can able to manipulate the data. I mean, we can able to remove the data. So all the operations you can able to perform on top of the list. So that is the basic background about the list. So if you can give, this is the single array. Okay, it's a one-dimensional array or one-dimensional list, you can call it. So if I use the multiple list inside the list, okay. So this is the 2D array. Let's just suppose let me print this list. So see here. So this is the multiple dimensions, because we have the multiple list inside the list, correct? So that's why we can call it as a multi-dimensional list or multi-dimensional array as well. So this is the my multi-dimensional data. So let's see how it can perform, how it can be set onto the data frame. So if you can go and you need to pass the data, already we are passing the data. So now let me pass the column names as well. Okay. So this is my data, and also I need to pass the column names. So let's say some columns equals to, this is the first name column, and then some their serial numbers, something. Anything. Okay. So this is how my data is created. So now you can see. So if you are not providing here, I did not provide any index. Okay, I just pass the data. I'm just not providing the any other parameters other than data. So this is by default, it was taken the index as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But here, so I have passed it the index column as well, column names as well. So you can also pass the index. So I don't want to start the index from 0. Now, suppose I want to start from 1. So I have the 4 elements, 4 rows. So this is your custom index. So like whatever you need, like you can also pass the column name. Suppose if you have, let's say, 5 columns, 10 columns are presented. Okay. So 9th column is presented as ID. So you can pass that ID column as your index. Clear? Any doubts, please stop me and ask me. No problem.
No.
What
Yeah, please.
if we want to create an index of 1 to 100, like more numbers?
You can able to create, yeah. So directly there is a, but you don't have the data, correct? Suppose there is a list called 0 to 5. Okay, so this is the indexing. If you know the indexing, so this is how you can able to create. So you are starting from 0, and if you want, you can put the 100. So whatever number. So I just
Okay.
want the 4 numbers, right? So, generally, we have the 4 elements, correct? So my page. One comma 4 and the value is 1. So for that, like we have another library. Let me. Just give me a minute. I forget the syntax. Yeah, start and so I just need the 1 comma 4. So the 0 values. So this is how we have the 4 values, correct? Like we can go to the 5s. So you can directly pass this index to here. Got it?
Got it, Adarsh.
Yeah, 1 to 5. You can also give the 1 to 100 if you have the values. This is how it will be created. So the index position is always n minus 1. Okay, so it will start from 0, and this n minus 1 is 100. 100 is the n year n count, so that is n minus 1. So always it will create the n minus 1 values. So I don't think so it will give the error now because we have only 4 records, correct? Yeah, because our data only the 4 values, correct? So that's why it won't create the 100 indexes. Clear?
Clear, Adarsh.
Yeah, thank you.
And
So
in this,
yeah,
we won't be dealing with booleans.
yeah, booleans as well. We can also categorical data. We can also deals with the categorical variables as well.
Okay, okay.
So like true or false or binary values, 0 or 1s. Boolean method also we can create. So let me, what else? So this is how we can create the data frames and manipulate the data frames. So we can go to and we go to this thing. So if you know the dictionary, uh, dictionary is also a kind of inbuilt data of Python, data type of Python. We also can able to create the data frame from the dictionary. Create it from the dictionary. Suppose it's a, like a key value pairs. Okay. Suppose suppose A has some value. So B has 2 integer. So this will end up one dictionary. You can create the other dictionary. So both value. So these are my two dictionaries. So, okay, if you can see your data, so the data can be like this. So means this is your column name and this is your value. This is your column and this is your value. It can be in the format of key value pairs if you know the dictionary. So let me re-execute the same query. I don't require because I already have the column names. See here, so this is the column and then this is the value, its value. And this is the column and this is the value. So we can also create the data, like it depends upon, because it can, the pandas can handles the JSON data and it can also handles the text data. You can also read the text data from your local. And you can also read the paraquet data. Different file formats you can able to create and also you can able to read. Suppose I have the CSV file into my local, okay. So let me read it from the computer. So for that we have the pandas library. So I'm just reading the file from pandas, okay. Syntax is read underscore CSV. If you can see. Okay, I have this address as CSV file is there. So what I'm taking, I'm just taking the location, okay. It is in my downloads. I'm just taking the downloads. This is in my downloads. And then just give the file name here. So it's a CSV file, you can mention the CSV. I don't know what format it is. Check. It's an Excel format. .csv only.
Can you correct the path?
Yeah. I'm just correcting the path. Yeah. So this is the actual location.
That we have to provide the backward slash, not forward. Yeah.
You mean to say this like this?
Yes. Double back.
I think that doesn't matter.
Because the error comes from this one.
Yeah, this was executed. So we need to mention the file format actually at the end.
And can you print this?
Yeah, I'm just executing the data frame. Yeah. So this is how you are able to read the data. So if you want to show, like, suppose if you have the data of like 1 billion records or something, like huge data here, you just wanted to see the data format, just give the head command. So head of 10 means it will only fetch the records from the last top 10 records. Also you can put the tail records as well, so the end records.
Others,
Yeah.
there's a one misconception.
Yeah.
Why pandas is used? Can you explain the simple way? What is the requirement for the panda?
Requirement is so in the Python, so especially for the data analytics, like the pandas is the more efficient because it will do the in-memory process, because it won't use your hard disk. Instead of using the hard disk, so it can directly load the data into the memory, and so that like the retrieval is fast. So other than that, like the most important thing is we can able to manipulate the data. Suppose if you have the two data frames, so you need to take the two columns from the first table and the other columns from the second tables, like with a primary key or some basic relation. So any relation between the two tables, so you can able to merge the tables, or you can able to join the tables, and it can get the retrieval information, the required information, you get it. So also apart from that, like you can handle the null values if you know the data analysis. So the data can be into the usually the business data or any data can be into the raw format. So raw format means like it can have the many nulls, like while entering the, I mean, because the data can be coming from the different sources like applications. So someone is using some applications. So some people can't enter the entire data, only required fields or something. So at the time, like we are getting the null values into the database. So to handle it, we can able to handle the null values, and also we can able to manipulate the columns. Means like unwanted columns, because suppose we need some data analysis. Suppose we need the some report, okay, tableau or dashboard, any report. We have 100 features, means 100 attributes, means 100 columns we have present in our entire data, in source data. So you just need only the 10 columns, 10 business columns you need. So at the time you can able to slice the data, and you can able to take the required columns only. So just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, guys. Yeah. So to manipulate the like the required columns, like we can slice the columns from the source, like whatever the required columns, we can take it. So we can fill the null values, means basically removing the unwanted data, removing the null values from the data frame. And also data, basically this concept we can call it as a data cleansing. Okay. Cleansing the data. So this concept we can call it as a data munching. Okay. So apart from that, like we can do the statistical analysis. So how you can able to perform some statistical concepts on the data, perform the statistical operations on the data to see like how the data is discrepanced. I mean, so is there any data discrepancies present into the using the various techniques, like we can analyze the data. And apart from that, like we can able to perform the data visualization as well. So visually we can able to see the data, and so load the data, load different format of data, so data to analyze. Yeah, whatnot, like we can do any manipulations, because previously, so before coming to the Python, so we are almost all we are doing the any data manipulation or analysis, we are performing the SQL Server. So but in the SQL Server, like all the operations can't be possible. So once this like analytics library is coming into the Python, so we are easily able to manipulate any kind of data. So based on our requirement, like all the functions we have, all the statistical functions we have, all the mathematical operations we can perform on the data. So like whatnot, like all the data manipulations we can do as per our requirement. So like these NumPy, let me explain you. So these are the core libraries for the data analytics or data engineering. Data analytics or data engineering. So the one is NumPy. So NumPy especially do for the computational. I mean, any mathematical computation or number calculations it can do. So upon then Pandas. So Pandas is especially for the data manipulation. So and then for the data visualization, we have the library called matplotlib and cban. Okay. So for machine learning, we have a lot many libraries we have. So to apply some machine learning algorithms on top of your data and predict some future outcomes on top of it, on top of existing data. So these are the core libraries for any data analytics or data engineering and the data science as well. So we have also SciPy for data visualization. So but nowadays, like the people in the, I mean, any projects, like they are using the Tableau or Power BI. So the more or less are same as compared to this Matplot and cban. So there also we have the different kinds of charts. We are binding the data to the charts. So here as well, we can directly bind our charts into the Matplotlib or cban. Using these libraries, we can bind our final data. Like suppose if you have some business case, to know the sale value. Okay, so the particular quarter sales he wanted to know based on some query. So based on your top selling customers, you are defining by the number of items they bought. Okay, so for that, like you need to collect the data, because the data can be the different attributes coming from the different tables. Suppose your sale amount can be coming from the one table and the customer name coming from the second table. So you need to join those tables and you need to finalize the two columns into the one single target data set. So at the time you need to apply the data joins on the data. So whether it's in no matters like which join you wanted to, based on the requirement, left join or right join. So inner join or any join. So once you apply the join, you can able to see the data into the one single data set or one single data frame. So the both required columns. So after that, you can perform the aggregation on top of it. Suppose based on ID or based on anything, you can perform the data aggregations, like some of the sales for this particular customer. So after that, like you can use the having query, you can greater than or descending order. Like all the things are manipulations. I'll show you. So this group by data aggregation, and this will be useful there. This joining the data frames. So it based upon the business use case requirement. So if you know the business like use case, we can able to perform all these technical operations on top of the data, and we'll get the required data. After that, like we can able to bind our data to the data visualization, so that like the end user can see easily like what's going on their business. So which customer made how much sales. So if he bought something, like what kind of products he bought, like all the analytics he can do using these libraries, especially NumPy and the Pandas. and the matplotlib cbun for the data visualizations. Got it? Have some idea? Or still
Yes, I'm good.
good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can read any kind of data. Like suppose if you have 1 billion of records, if you wanted to read the data into the Excel, that can't possible. But here in the Pandas, it will do the in-memory process. So that like you can quickly load the huge volume of data as well. So if you have 1 billion or 2 billions of records, in that case, we are going for the PySpark. So the Spark operation can be done on top of the clusters. So the clusters can load the any large, like huge complex data, I can say. Means that that would be in the tera formats. So depends upon your volume, data volume. So we can use the tools basically. This is how we can read your files. Also, you can able to read the text files as well. Suppose let me show you if you have some text file in mind. So this is the JSON data. Let me see. It's text document. You can go to your pandas. So if you are already in the location, like if your Jupyter file also into the desktop, my Jupyter file is into the desktop, correct? So, and my file, suppose let's say input file was also into the desktop. So at that time, you can directly provide the file name. No need to mention like all the location. Okay. Input.txt. So, and you can also give the separators. Like if you wanted to do some separation, the data. Suppose I just wanted to separate the data, each word with some space. So you can provide that as well. So you can see this is your data. Let me go to the data and then you can able to see fast and flexible managed service. I don't know from where it was read. Yeah, this was taken as header because it's in the first line. So that's why it was taken as a header. This is the fast and flexible and default.
How
So
to how to
yeah,
remove it? How to remove, because it has taken the header,
yes, yes.
but you don't want the header. We want in the line.
Just we can read the text file instead of reading the CSV. Just speed it out, read, input here, read underscore. This is the text format, correct? Don't. So you can also remove df dot so header we can directly pass it as none. Student. Usually it needs to take the header as false, but
Okay, no problem. It will. Okay.
yeah, parse error or something. Yeah, I'll look into it once
Okay.
with this.
No.
So this is how you can also read the JSON files as well. So import, like if you have some JSON files into your local, so you can use this instead of CSV, you can mention the JSON. Okay, read underscore JSON, and you can give the file path so that it can able to read the data, JSON format data as well. So from there, like you can able to slice, so like slicing and what is slicing and how you can access the required data. So we'll see into the slicing part. So how we can slice the data, and so how we can replace the data with some suppose if you have this a name has some capital letter, so I just wanted to make all the names with the lowercase. So how we can perform that is a kind of manipulation. Suppose the serial number as an integer, I just need to convert into as a float in my target database. So how we are doing, so any calculation, suppose if you have some sale amount and the discount column, so based on these two columns you need to provide, you need to make the other column. So based on these two calculations, sale and the discount, so each sale amount and the discount, so based on these two columns you can how you can perform the final price. So like that, like how we can do the mathematical calculations on top of data set. So these all are complete manipulations, so based on our requirement, like all the mathematical operations you can perform, no matters like which operation it is. All statistical operations also you can perform. So suppose if you have the some quantity, this is the product name, let's say, and this is the city, and this is some quantity and the unit price, suppose. So this quantity as the five products, let's say. We can say, let's say some bolts. Okay, bolts is some mechanical part. So he purchased the five quantity, so the unit price is something 10 rupees. So we need to calculate the total price. So 5 into, we need to multiply the quantity with the unit price, so that like we'll get the final price of this particular customer. So we can do that particular columnation, that particular calculations into the next column. So you can multiply this operation or division between these two columns. So that's how we can do the any mathematical or statistical operations perform. We can aggregate the data, so we can group by the data, grouping the data based on some max calculations or min calculations, average, anything, sum. So like all the performance we can do on top of the data. So this is how the pandas is most essential part in the data analytics or the data engineering. So tell me guys, like if you have any doubts or any kind of things you need to know about more about pandas or any role relevant doubts, you can please feel free to ask.
No. But my question is, when you start on
Yeah,
course, so
course. Okay. Yeah.
so how will it start on the Python?
So like just I wanted to know, because if you know the little bit about the Python, that's why I thought like you guys know the little bit about Python, like data types and the file handling systems, and so that's why like I have started I came with this Pandas demo. So just tell me, like, I mean, what concept you know, like if you don't know about any Python or anything, at that time, like I need to start from the scratch.
Yeah, you can start from the scratch.
Scratch.
Yeah.
So okay. So at that time, so I'll give the content then. So because we need to in the basic Python, basically, we have all the most essential part is data types and the functions. Any programming language, these things is the basic things, loops, okay, conditional statements. Functions. So any programming, like if you don't have any programming language, then I'll go to these basics as well, etc. There are some basic things we need to know about. If you don't have any programming language, then I'll start from the basic Python. So if you have some knowledge, then I'll directly go to the libraries or the concepts which are relevant to the data analytics and the data engineering, the same as I have discussed here.
You can go from the sketch for overall, right?
Basic Python is also required,
Yeah.
Adarsh.
Okay, basic also required. Okay, so then 3 to 4 days, like we'll cover the basic Python, so that I can move to this data analytics of the engineering libraries. So then we can move to the our SPA AWS environment, like how this Python code we are implementing on top of AWS services, like in the ETL or any analysis, data pipelines. So those things we can see in the cloud. Like I thought like this is only the session is only for AWS. That's why I thought I'm not covering these things. The Ganesh
And
was in the call.
suppose our data on the Oracle DB, yeah,
Mhm.
any database, how to migrate this data to the sorry, to the Redshift.
Like first you need to create the EC2 instance. Okay, EC2 is something.
Mm.
So it's like your computer. So
Mm.
where you can it's a virtual desktop. So first you need to create the EC2 instance. So from there you need to install your Oracle database. Okay, Oracle database you need to install. So then you can give your password and the credentials, like the connection string details, and you can able to access from the virtual desktop your Oracle database. Then we can able to replicate it to your data hub. Let me just keep the information. If my AWS is login, I'll take you through those things. Yeah.
There's the one tool is a data migration tool
Data migration.
in AWS.
Let me check once. Yeah, these are the instances. Let me go to the EC2 instances. So currently I don't have any instances. Like I have terminated the instances because the instances is running like the charge will be continuously. I mean, the instances charge is continuously uh, going on to our account. So that's why I have terminated. Like whenever
No.
yeah.
So my question is that suppose our data is already in our Oracle DB, any database.
Any
And
database, okay.
yeah, and if I want to migrate this data on the Redshift, what is the approach we will do on that?
I mean, so what kind of data you have in your Oracle DB?
Any data, because suppose
Because
suppose already we have the data.
Okay.
in our that is the on-premises data. Oracle,
On-premise data you have.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
And if you want to migrate the Oracle DB data to the that is the Redshift.
Mm-hmm.
So this is possible in the data engineering.
Yeah, it is possible. You know, the AWS DMS,
Mhm.
data migration service we have in the AWS. Okay.
Mhm.
So in the data migration service, you can create the connection from your Oracle database to Redshift. Okay, you need to make your target as a Redshift, and then you can make your source as your Oracle database. Okay, in the source you can give the connection details, and while fetching the data from your Oracle database to Amazon Redshift, if you want to just lift and shift, you can just copy and paste the in the with the single command, you can able to copy all the data from your Oracle database to your Redshift. So otherwise
Direct,
you need yeah.
directly we can do it. Yeah. Otherwise,
Directly.
okay.
Yeah,
Is there
directly
any
we can.
glue is involved in this method? Glue.
No. Glue won't involve because we are not doing any transformations on the data. Glue is completely an ETL, serverless ETL tool, ETL service, not tool.
Mm.
So if you need some transformations on your source data, that at that time, like you can write your any script to manipulate the data. Transformations, that is ETL. So ETL is the Glue is completely an ETL tool. So apart from that, you have the data pipeline basically. Like we have the many services like can do the same operation, so we can go as per our cost and the requirement. If you can go to here,
Okay. It means that you will not cover the data migration in this course.
data migration, like I'll try to migrate the data, but since I don't have any data migration, I mean data source, I don't have any what I can say Oracle data connections on premise environments in my local system
Okay.
actually. So if
If,
you have
yeah.
something, yeah, if you have something, definitely I'll
Yeah.
try to
So
cover that.
so we can cover through the AWS to the Redshift. Suppose
Sure,
our data.
sure, definitely.
Okay.
So if you have like I'll try to install this PostgreSQL or any SSMS SQL Server Management System. So from there, like I can able to connect to the source as my SQL and then target as my Redshift. So I'll most probably I'll try 99%. I'll try to. So how we can migrate the data from our on-premise to the data hub.
Okay, others, I'm leaving this meeting because I have another call.
Okay, sure, definitely, no
Thank
problem at all.
thank you.
Yeah, Vaibhav. Sorry, not sure. Hello.
Yes, Adarsh.
Yeah. Maybe like, do you have any specific questions or any? If you want me to start the scratch or how your approach is, basically.
Uh, I mean, so basically data frames is only for storing data in tabular format, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even like structural format. Like if you can see the SQL Server and any RDBMS, relational database services. So the same like the data can be available into our data frames as well. Same like Excel, SQL Server tables, structured data. Basically the structure means like we have all the data can be organized in the format like rows and columns. So those things we can call it as the relational databases or relational data, a structural data. So the data also we have the three types of data: structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data. Okay, so in the structured data, the data is completely a organized manner. Like we have the rows and columns, everything we can able to fetch the data easily. So based on passing the index or row number. So if you can see the semi-structured data, a semi-structure is a JSON object is the semi-structured data. So unstructured means like all the data, like audio files, video files, image files, etc. The data that don't have any format.
Got it, Adarsh.
Got
And
it, right? Yeah.
I will once share my screen and
Sure, please, definitely.
show these requirements.
So currently, are you into the data analytics project or data engineering? Any
No,
kind
no,
of
I'm not into data field only completely. I mean, just a kind of small BI, that's it.
okay, small BI. Okay, yeah. Please share your screen.
So, I mean, these are the requirements I'm targeting for this role actually, which is,
A job summary, Amazon Stripes, basic qualification
and
analysis,
these are something which I have to fulfill.
data warehousing and the building ETL pipelines, experience in SQL. Yeah, this is what we were covering actually. Bachelor's degree higher, 1+ years hands-on experience, complex high SQL queries across the large. So in this case, you need to also learn the SQL, normal on-premise SQL basically. SQL Server
Okay,
management. I'll show you like how it can be installed and how we can create the tables under these data sets, database basically, database and the tables, how we can join like everything. So instead of this Python, so we just need to go to the on-premise SQL because on-premise SQL is the most flexible to analyze the data. So because he's especially asking for the SQL only, SQL queries only. So and then 1+ years experience in the scripting language like Python, Perl, etc. Okay, Python, we are covering it, and then
okay,
ETL pipelines we are covering into the cloud like Glue data pipelines. Some of the ETL we are covering under the AWS side. Data warehousing, yeah. Redshift is our data warehousing, yeah, is mentioned already. Experience with the AWS services like S3. Yeah, I'll tell you this like how S3 works and the Redshift works. EMR clusters. So EMR is a cluster, okay. So we were just now we talked about the data. So suppose if you have the lesser data, um, you can directly load it into your Pandas data frames or on-premise services. Suppose if you have the complex data, so 1 billion or 1 trillion records you can't load it into your machine because your
yes,
your CPUs can't enough to load your entire data, that much of data, that much complex data. So for that, like the EMR will came to picture. So EMR is nothing but your big data environment. I think you heard about this big data,
yes,
Apache Spark. So the same like the AWS is offering us the big data environment, that is the EMR. This is where the cluster has created. So we are moving the data from S3. So suppose if you have some billion records we have into the S3, you can able to, or using this EMR big data environment, you can perform some data operations on top of it. So RDS is also a kind of storage, relational database services, and experience with the big data technology. Yeah, he has asked the Hadoop, Hive, HBase, Big Spark. So we are covering Spark is enough nowadays. Like this Hadoop, Hive, Hadoop and the Spark will cover onto the EMR, but we are not covering this HBase Big. Not required. Experience in working in the delivering and end-to-end projecting. This is pretty relevant to our మన తెలుగేనా బ్రో మీరు?
yes, bro.
ఓకే. అంటే మనకైతే రిలవెంట్ ఇదంతా యాక్చువల్‌గా. మన కోర్స్ కంటెంట్‌లో అయితే అంత రిలవెంట్. నో ప్రాబ్లమ్.
Okay, bro. And bro, ఇది ఓన్లీ స్పార్క్ ఆర్ PySpark కూడా కవర్ చేస్తామా?
స్పార్క్ అనేది ఒక లైక్ ఫ్రేమ్ వర్క్ అంతే. ఆన్ టాప్ ఆఫ్ స్పార్క్ మనము స్పార్క్ SQL రాస్తాము, PySpark రాస్తాము.
ఓకే,
పెద్ద డిఫరెన్స్ ఉండదు. ఇఫ్ యూ నో ద పైథాన్ మిగతా మన నార్మల్ లానే ఉంటది. చిన్న చిన్న డిఫరెన్సెస్ ఉంటాయి, సింటాక్స్ డిఫరెన్సెస్. సో అంటే మీరు పర్టికులర్‌గా ఈ రోల్ కోసం చెక్ చేస్తున్నారా అప్లై చేయడానికి?
అంటే మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద డేటా ఇంజినీర్స్ లో ఇవే బేసిక్ క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్. సో
ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ మెయిన్ సీక్వెల్ బ్రో. యా, ఇఫ్ యూ నో ద సీక్వెల్ ఇంకా మిగతా అంతా ఈజీనే. సో సీక్వెల్లో కాంప్లెక్స్ క్వైరీస్ రాయడము, డేటాని మ్యానిపులేట్ చేయడము తెలియాలి. సో బికాజ్ ఎందుకంటే మనము PySpark లోకి వెళ్ళిన స్పార్క్ ఇప్పుడు బిగ్ డేటా ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ లోకి వెళ్ళినా కూడా కంప్లీట్ స్పార్కే ఉంటుంది, సీక్వెల్ కోడే ఉంటుంది అంతా. సో మీకు సీక్వెల్ తెలిస్తే మిగతాదంతా ఈజీ. సో
సీక్వెల్
సీక్వెల్
ఐ మీన్ కొన్ని తెలుసు, ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ ఐ మీన్ ఫ్రమ్ టు అండ్ జాయినింగ్ వరకు రాదు. ఐ మీన్ ఇన్ జాయిన్, ఆటో జాయిన్ అక్కడి వరకు వచ్చు అంతే.
ఓకే. సో మరి నాకైతే వీళ్ళు AWS అని ఒక్కటే చెప్పాడు. సో అందుకోసం అని నేను ఇంకా డైరెక్ట్ AWS స్టార్ట్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నాం. మళ్ళీ నిన్న పాండాస్ అది అన్నారని అట్లా అనుకున్నాను. మీకు AWSలో టూల్స్ని ఎలా హ్యాండిల్ చేయాలి అండ్ డేటాని ఎట్లా మ్యానిపులేట్ చేయాలి, ఆ సర్వీసెస్ ఎట్లా యూజ్ చేయాలో తెలియదు. సో AWS గురించి అన్నారు మన కోర్స్ యాక్చువల్గా. సో అందుకోసం అని నేను AWS ఒకటే అనుకున్నాను. నాట్ షూర్.
Okay, bro. And what I mean, majorly, what do cloud data engineer do?
But there's
Like,
no much difference, bro. Like, I mean, as compared to your on-premise or cloud, okay. మనకి ఏం డిఫరెన్స్ ఏమి ఉండదు. వాట్ ఎవర్ యు ఆర్ రైటింగ్ ద కోడ్ ఇన్ యువర్ ఆన్-ప్రిమైజ్. మనకి ఆన్-ప్రిమైజ్ అంటే లోకల్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్. లైక్ ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ కొన్ని ఐటీ కంపెనీస్ ఎట్లా అంటే దే ఆర్ యూజింగ్ దేర్ ఓన్ సర్వర్స్. ఐ మీన్ సర్వర్స్ అన్ని డేటాబేస్లు అన్ని వాళ్ళ కంపెనీలోనే ఉంటాయి. పెద్ద పెద్ద ర్యాక్స్లో ఉంటాయి, చూసే ఉంటారు మీరు. ర్యాక్స్లో వాళ్ళ సర్వర్స్ అండ్ డేటాబేస్లు అవన్నీ. సో వాళ్ళకి ఏమైనా ఇష్యూ వచ్చింది అనుకో, సో వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారు, ఇట్ విల్ టేక్ సమ్ టైమ్ అంటే ఇష్యూ రిజాల్వ్ అవ్వడానికి. వాళ్ళు మళ్ళీ సర్వీస్ ప్రొవైడర్ని కాల్ చేయాలి. సేమ్ లైక్ ఇంటర్నెట్, ఇప్పుడు మనం వైఫై ఎలా పెట్టించుకుంటామో, మనకి ప్రాబ్లం వస్తే వాళ్ళకి కాల్ చేయాలి, వాళ్ళు వచ్చి ఫిక్స్ చేయాలి. సో అట్లా క్లౌడ్ అలా కాదు. లైక్ వన్స్, సో మనకి ఎప్పుడైతే అవసరం ఉంటుందో రీసోర్స్, ఏదైనా కాంపిటేషనల్ రిసోర్స్ కానీ డేటాబేస్ రిసోర్స్ కానీ, అప్పుడు ఆన్ ప్రిమైజ్ లైక్ ఆన్ ఫ్లై యాక్టివేట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు అనమాట. సో మనకి డేటా కూడా రెప్లికేషన్స్ 3 టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ రెప్లికేషన్స్ ఉంటాయి అనమాట. అంటే ఇప్పుడు నీ డేటాను ఒక 3 డిఫరెంట్ జోన్స్లో పెడతారనమాట. ఒకవేళ నువ్వు ఒక డేటా సెంటర్ నుంచి నువ్వు డేటాను యాక్సెస్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు అది అన్ఫార్చునేట్లీ డౌన్ అయిపోయింది అనుకో, సో ఇమీడియట్లీ ఇట్ విల్ కనెక్ట్ టు ద అదర్ సర్వర్ దట్ వుడ్ బి లొకేటెడ్ ఇన్ టు ద డిఫరెంట్ లొకేషన్ రీజియన్. మీరు రీజన్స్ చూసే ఉంటారు AWSలో, యుఎస్ ఈస్ట్ 1, యుఎస్
Mumbai.
వెస్ట్, ముంబై అట్లా. సో అట్లా అవన్నీ డేటా సెంటర్స్ అనమాట. సో నువ్వు క్రియేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు కూడా నీ డేటాని ఎక్కడ క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నావు, ఏ డేటా, సపోజ్ S3 బకెట్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నావు, క్రియేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు నువ్వు రైట్ సైడ్లో అవి చూసుకోవాలి. అంటే ఏ డేటా సెంటర్లో క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నావు అనేది. నువ్వు వేరే డేటా సెంటర్కి వెళ్ళి S3 చూస్తే అక్కడ ఫైల్స్ ఉండవు. సో యూ నీడ్ టు make sure like which data center you are going to be create your S3 files or any service, DynamoDB service కానీ ETL service కానీ ఏదైనా కూడా మనం దేంట్లో క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం అనేది చూసుకోవాలి. సో ఒక దగ్గర సర్వర్ డౌన్ అయిపోతే ఇట్ విల్ ఆటోమేటికలీ పికప్ దిస్ సెకండ్ సర్వర్ అండ్ ఆటోమేటికలీ ఫెచ్ ది డేటా. అట్లా మనకి కనెక్షన్ ఇంటరప్షన్స్ ఉండవు అండ్ సర్వర్ డౌన్స్ ఇష్యూస్ ఉండవు. సో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ మనకి ఫిజికల్ హార్డ్వేర్ మెయింటైన్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు. క్లౌడ్కి దీనికి నార్మల్గా డిఫరెంట్ చెప్తున్నాం. యూ డోంట్ నీడ్ టు ఎనీ మెయింటైన్ ఈ డేటాబేస్లు కానీ ర్యాక్స్ కానీ సర్వర్స్ కానీ సిస్టమ్స్ కానీ ఏది అవసరం లేదు. ఇఫ్ యూ హావ్ సమ్ కంప్యూటర్ యూ కెన్ జస్ట్ డైరెక్ట్లీ లాగ్ ఆన్ టు యువర్ AWS. ఇప్పుడు మనకి EC2 అని చెప్పాను కదా మీతో, అక్కడ మీకు డైరెక్ట్ రిక్వైర్డ్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ సిస్టమ్ కూడా వస్తుంది అనమాట. అంటే సపోజ్ నా సిస్టమ్ 4 GB ఆఫ్ ర్యామ్ ఉంది. సో సపోజ్ ఐ నీడ్ టు డూ సమ్ 12 GB ఆఫ్ ర్యామ్ టు పర్ఫార్మ్ సమ్ టాస్క్. సో అలాంటప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తా అంటే EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్ క్రియేట్ చేసి అక్కడ నుంచి నాకు కావాల్సిన రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఇన్పుట్లో ఇచ్చేస్తా. 12 GB ర్యామ్ అండ్ ప్రాసెసర్ కోర్స్ ఎన్ని అండ్ స్టోరేజ్ ఎంత కావాలి, 2 TB 4 TB ఇచ్చేసి అక్కడ నుంచి డైరెక్ట్ వర్చువల్ డెస్క్టాప్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకుంటాను నేను. సో నా సిస్టమ్ నుంచి ఐ కెన్ యాక్సెస్ ది వర్చువల్ డెస్క్టాప్ అండ్ ఐ కెన్ డూ ది సో వాట్ ఎవర్ ఐ రిక్వైర్డ్ టాస్క్ ఆర్ ఎనీథింగ్ ఐ కెన్ డూ ఫ్రమ్ దేర్. సో అలా అన్నమాట. సో మళ్ళీ మీ యూసేజ్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత దాన్ని టర్మినేట్ చేయడము లేదంటే స్టాప్ చేయడము. సో ఎప్పుడైతే మీరు పే అండ్ గో అనమాట, పే అండ్ గో సర్వీస్ లాగా. సో నువ్వు యూజ్ చేస్తేనే రిసోర్సెస్ని నీకు ఛార్జ్ చేస్తారు. సో అంటిల్ అండ్ అన్లెస్ యూ కాంట్ యూజ్ ద సర్వీస్ యూ వోంట్ ఛార్జ్ ఎనీథింగ్ అట్లా.
Okay,
సో అది
okay, bro.
బేసిక్గా క్లౌడ్. కొంచెం ఐడియా వచ్చిందా?
And bro, మనం ఐ మీన్ వైల్ ప్రాక్టీసింగ్ ఇవి ఆఫీస్ ల్యాప్టాప్లో ట్రై చేయొచ్చా?
నో బ్రో. ఇప్పుడు నీకు AWS ఫ్రీ టైర్ అకౌంట్ ఉంటుంది. ఫ్రీ టైర్ అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవాలి నువ్వు. ఫ్రీ టైర్ అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తే ఏంటంటే ఫ్రీ టైర్లో కొంచెం లిమిట్ వరకు ఫ్రీ ఉంటుంది అనమాట.